Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking about Fire Force, episode 1. Now this was a long time coming. I remember hearing about Fire Force for a while. For whatever reason, I never did pick up the manga like I have with other shows. Like, usually I'd read like the first volume of the manga, but for some reason with Fire Force I just never did. But I did know that when it did drop, I was desperate to watch it, because if you don't know, Soul Eater is what got me back into watching anime. I watched Soul Eater around the end of high school, and I was an anime kid in grade school, but I sort of dropped off during high school, and it was at the tail end that I got back in when my friends asked me to join their Soul Eater cosplay group, and I had no idea what A, cosplay was at the time, or B, what Soul Eater was, so I gave it a shot, and I fell right back in love with the medium that had a stranglehold over my childhood. So yeah, without Soul Eater, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. So the fact that this series is made from the same dude who made Soul Eater, well, yeah, you better believe I was excited. But how does this premiere hold up? Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So allow me to start by saying, hot damn, pun intended, the animation in that opening scene, and we will talk about the later scene as well, David Pro really came to play here. I guess it's really no surprise at this point. Usually when David Pro makes a show, you better believe on some level, I just realized that rhymed, on some level, it's gonna be pretty entertaining. Although, they did make that one weird show a while back where it was like, people, like kids with powers, and there was like time travel. I don't remember. Everybody gets one. Everybody's allowed to have the odd failure here and there. But I gotta say, on the whole, David Pro really does nail it out of the park with most of their shows. And Fire Force is shaping up to be no exception. Like Fire Force, like that opening scene, I will say the show as a whole seems to be focused more, at least in this premiere, it's focusing more on the aesthetic and the action. It really wants to drag you into this world through the Fire Force itself, like through the actions of the Fire Force. Like you are dragged into this world pretty much immediately. Like when the episode begins, we're on a train and things immediately pop off and we get that wild action scene that opens the show. We not only get to see the Fire Force themselves in action, but we also get to see Shinra, our MC, really showing off his, how do I say, Barry Allen-esque abilities. He bolts faster than, he is the fastest man alive. He like flies at top speed. And from what I can gather, he can almost like fly with how fast, basically the fire like engulfs specifically his feet. And he's able to like fly across the train station and save the nun character, the sister. And yeah, we that, like, just the fact that it opens on such a bombastic, intense note really does tell you what kind of show I feel we're getting into. And we also get to see the OP, which, by the way, is a total banger. The song that plays in the OP is great, and the OP itself is just friggin' awesome. Like, I was just, like, bobbing my head, enjoying the visuals. It's definitely the OP to beat this season. So far, of the 3 shows that I've covered here, and of the shows that I have seen, this is the OP to beat. Getting further into it, we get to see a little bit more of the character designs, and of course, because it wouldn't be Atsushi Okobo without a little bit of fan service thrown in there, we get to see everybody's character designs, and we get to see a little bit more of the girl characters, of the female cast's character designs, because of course, you know, the dudes are sitting around talking in an interview, the girls are in the shower, because of course they are. I ain't complaining, I'm just pointing it out. But like, it was, I gotta say too though, I had 2 moments where I was like, oh, okay, how you doing? And that's when we are introduced to, I can't remember her name, not the nun, but the other character who's like in the shower with the nun, the black-haired character. Because, to quote Spike Spiegel, I love a woman who can kick my ass. And that's one of the things about the character designs across the board that I appreciate. Everybody looks fit as hell, and rightfully so. They're meant to be anime firefighters, essentially. And I don't know if you've met firefighters, most of them are ripped. So, like, the fact that I was like, right on, like, they're fit, that makes sense given the character. Nobody's, like, super thin, nobody's, like super scrawny. It makes sense. They look fit given their job description. it makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate that. The other how you doing is the captain, that dude, when he's like, I don't know, just a big muscle-bound dude hanging out, but he's got a heart of gold and a good sense of humor. I don't know, it kind of worked on me. I'm like, oh, I see we have some husbando material. Very good, capital. Anyway, moving on. One of the other things I want to point out about the character designs is with Shinra. Now, I remember seeing the images of Fire Force, because again, I didn't read it, but I really should have, because usually, again, I typically read the first volume of a hype manga, and then I wait for the anime adaptation. For whatever reason, I didn't read the first volume for Fire Force, but I've seen like the cover of it a bunch. And it's Shinra doing his, like, you know, like jumping up in the air. He's got the flames going off his feet, and he has the big grin. Now, I had assumed that the big grin was because he was sort of a cocky character, but that he was like full of himself. He's a bit foolhardy. You know, he's a basic shonen MC, but that's not the case. The smile is a nervous smile that he can't even help. Like, it's just something that happens. And I think it really adds another layer of character to him, like especially given what we see in his tragic backstory. Because of course, he's the main character in anime. He's got to have a tragic backstory. Admittedly, his backstory is tragic and actually gave me Sam and Dean Winchester flashbacks, kind of, sort of, with the whole flame and the family goes out. But yeah. It's a tragic backstory. I know they're sort of dime a dozen when it comes to shonen protagonists, but this one's pretty hardcore. And it actually left a permanent mark without having to be a scar. It's the smile. And I just think that's really friggin' rad. Also, I said this with the character designs, but the Soul Eater feel, just that sort of vibe that Soul Eater has, it's very much here. If you enjoyed Soul Eater and you haven't given this a shot yet, I would highly, highly recommend this first episode. But let's go ahead and carry on with the rest of my thoughts on the episode. I also gotta say, I really appreciate the comedy. We get a lot of jokes between like characters, and even the fact that the car's name is Matchbox. I was like, I get it. I appreciate the pun. Also, for some reason, whenever I hear Matchbox, I always immediately want to say 20. But I get it. It's a Matchbox. Hilarious. I approve. I always love puns. And again, the comedy is pretty, like, I'm not selling the comedy. It may sound like it's really bland, but the comedy is actually pretty fun. I actually like the interactions between the characters thus far. The world itself also really intrigues me. Like, how did this happen? How did people suddenly start combusting? Is it science related? Is it mystical related? Is it like magic of some kind? I mean, we do have like the nun character. We get sort of a heavy sort of faith-based like element to the show, so it could be a faith-based thing. Maybe they're from hell, I don't know, but I am interested to see that aspect of the world. I'm also really interested in how the structure of the Fire Force began, like who made the outfits, what was the first team like, why are they so like concentrated on teamwork? I mean, then again, yeah, I could just kind of look to regular firefighters, like of course regular firefighters in our world also heavily rely on teamwork. So I guess that part makes sense. But everything else I'm interested in. I'm really fascinated by the world. I really want to know more. Like, what causes people to combust? Do they even know yet? I don't know. I'm really into it. And I will say too, even if you've never seen Soul Eater, but you like My Hero, I have a feeling you will dig this, because it's very, the main character is very set on the whole, like, I want to be a superhero. He even says, like, I want to be a hero. All I thought was Deku immediately. And, well, that and the fact that, like, in the flashbacks, when he gets the cape, like, his mom ties his cape, they show that flashback twice, and both times she says, like, looking cool. And all I thought of was, looking cool, Shinra! So I guess if you like Persona, no, okay, but it's nothing like Persona. But it is kind of like My Hero. Everybody's obsessed with superheroes these days, and like just being a hero in general, which, by the way, is not a complaint. Everybody should be obsessed with heroes, and everybody should want to be a hero. So I kind of like that. And it did give me My Hero vibes in the sense that, you know, the main character really wants to be a hero. The difference is Deku wants to be a hero out of strong moral values. He grew up admiring All Might, and he didn't have a quirk, but he tried hard anyway. Whereas Shinra is trying to make up for the fact that people call him a devil because of what happened to his mom and his brother, and also he's trying to redeem his name. He knows that there was something else there. It wasn't just him. So he might not even be the cause of his family's death. I mean, it seems kind of clear that he isn't. I don't know necessarily if he knows that, but it does seem as though he wants to clear his name as well. It's sort of My Hero, but it's again sort of not. It's just My Hero in the sense that he wants to be a superhero, I guess. But it did even just like beyond the narrative elements, visually speaking. If you enjoyed the fights from My Hero, you are gonna friggin' love this. David Pro animated to the point where I could have tricked myself into thinking I was watching a Bones fight. Now, I love Studio Bones, and their fight scenes are unrivaled, in my opinion. Like, Bones brings it. David Pro did so well that for a second, my brain was like, oh, it's Bones. No, it's not, it's David Pro. Like, I don't, like, first, like, even knowing that it was David Pro, like, you know, like, where your brain tricks itself for a second. It was so visually jaw-dropping. Now, that said, David Pro, they handle JoJo's, so they're no stranger to fight scenes. But I gotta say, like, this was just wild to see. Like, that fight at the end, I can't get it across with just screenshots. I know some people just watch my videos for like recaps on episodes and don't watch the show. Friends of mine have told me that. Don't do that. Do yourself a bare minimum watch the fight, okay? Just watch the show in general. I encourage you to watch Fire Force. But if you're not sure and this video isn't really selling you, watch the fights, both the opening fight and the end fight from this episode. It will convince you. It is phenomenally done. And we even get an ED in this one, which is a nice change of pace. I feel like we never get to see the ED in premieres. By the way, I have noticed that some people say that they skip EDs. Like, oh no, I watched the openings, but I'll skip the ED. Still blasphemy, shame on you. Don't skip either the OP or the ED. Some EDs are dope. With that said though, everybody, I am going to wrap up today's video by giving the first episode of Fire Force a strong A. I had no question by the end of the episode what the grade was gonna be. The grade on this one is a solid A. Really, really impressive start. With that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video. So if you enjoyed, then by all means hitting that like button and sharing the video around on the internet, why, that would be super rad of you. And if you're new here and you want to check out more videos from me, then by all means hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join the good ones. And of course, before we go, I have to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Dominic, Urza, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Omner Garamond, Opinionated Slime, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Tristan, and Veridon. Thank you all so much for your continued support. I really super appreciate it. If you would like to help the channel out, then by all means check out the Patreon, link in the description. And until our next meeting, everybody, you stay rad and don't scary.